Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing some geode art on a simple piece of MDF. This is a nice sturdy little piece of MDF from Create and Bloom. We're going to be using some crushed glass, some crystally bits and pieces, various resin pigments and mica powders and a secret trick at the end, so watch on. First of all I need to make some crystals. And this is the crystal mould from Into Resin. I'm going to make some of the smaller ones, I think. I don't know, I might make some of the medium sized. They're quite big, aren't they? But I'll make up some of those first. And of course, just need to paint this board. Just to prime it, we'll paint it white. Let me introduce you to everything else we've got. The colours are from Just For You Online. I've got Cookies and Cream, and I've got Supreme White. This one is still available from them, by the way. It's an incredibly intense white pigment paste. I want a kind of brownie colour in amongst this somewhere, so I've got Peau Terracotta, which is actually intended for the Eco Pour, really, not for resin, but I'm told you can use it, and it's a Create and Bloom one, so let's try it. I've also got some chocolate brown mica powder from Boo and Nicole, so it's a very multi-brand here. I've got various bits of broken glass, crushed glass. Some of it's a bit crystal AB-ish look. Can you see there's some sparkle in there? So I've got various, I think this one was from Dunelm, I don't know. Anyway, we've got lots of different sizes and sorts of that. So the board painting, I'm just going to use acrylic paints on that. But I'm going to mix up some resin for the crystals, and I did kind of want to show you this because I wanted you to see what colours I was doing. So just regular resin. Regular resin. That's what I always call it because it's my go-to. Use it for pretty much everything. Resin. It's Apex High Gloss. Really easy to use. It's dead reliable, and it is kind of a medium viscosity, and it's reasonably warm in my craft room today, despite nearly being into November. But it's just a one-to-one, and it's just, a good all-rounder, really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of clear, and then I'm going to start adding in a bit of colour. Now I'm going, as you probably realise from the colours I've got out, for sort of smoky, coffee, naturals with this one. And like I said, I've got a little trick for you at the end, but I'll share some tips as well as I go. Just pointing up my little cup so that I can pour it a bit more accurately. And I'm going to do one there, one there. I'm going to do a few, probably more than I need, to be honest. But yes, I'm going to vary the colours as we go along. So let me show you what I'm doing with the pigments. So I've got here caramel and black from Let's Resin, and this is how I create a kind of smoky colour. Now I'm going to pour a bit off into another cup because it's quite possible I'll end up making this too smoky because it's very difficult to do like half a drop, isn't it? So one drop, one drop. This is my first tip. If you're trying to get a really subtle colour but you're working with very small amounts, mix them up in a separate pot. See, that's quite strong, isn't it? And I think I want it more brown than that. And then this becomes your colourant. There we are. There you go. I just didn't want it just brown. I wanted it more smoky than that. So what we do then, if we just want a slight hint of colour, is we put a little bit of that into our main mix. So this is how to get slightly stronger and so on. See, there we go. We've got a real just slight hint now. And I'm mixing it in well, causing loads of bubbles. It'll degas itself, don't worry. And again, we're going to go along. Particularly want the small ones. So these are going to be just that slight hint of colour. I don't know if I want to go much darker than this, really. Now, the reason I'm wanting these very much up to the brim is because then you get a nice shiny sides all round, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to get like a concave side on this side of the little crystals. So again, pouring some of this mix in. Might be a bit stronger this time. Maybe just slightly. And go a little bit more. There we go. So these last ones will be quite a bit of colour. Now, it's not that big a board, so I'm not going to need too many of these, but I'll just use up what I've got left of the resin. I might fill them all up. If I have any left, I just keep a little box full of them ready for next time I do a project. I quite often use my resin leftovers in these moulds, in fact.
Motion detected at the doorbell.
Thank you, Ziggy. Right, there we are. Okay, I'm off to paint this bit of board and to see who that was at the doorbell. And yes, I have called my Alexa Ziggy, simply because every other one in the house is called Alexa, and that way we'll know that it's mine and I'm talking to it.
Brush in the hand, paint strokes divine, empty of dreams in a whitewashed line, quiet moments plain and true.
So while that paint is drying and the little crystals are curing over here, I'm going to get some actual resin mixed up, because you need to leave it to sit for a little while, is my initial findings. So I'm going to mix up a good sized pot first, and the resin I'll be using is Apex 1 Coat. Let me show you. Bottom of my bottle has got somewhat mucky by the look of it, but there we go. Apex 1 Coat. It's a 2-parter. When they say fast cure, they are not kidding. It's you can sometimes demold it in 2 hours. I tend to leave it a bit longer, but theoretically you can. It's very thick as well, so it's great for top coating things, but that means it's also really good if you don't want your colours to move around and you want them to, you know, do like the geode effect properly. She says, marking a bit of wood. So the resin, that 1 coat, look, that's how thick it is. So the idea is that it'll move a lot less than like a regular epoxy would, because it's so thick. So any of your top coating, tabletop, those sort of resins, the really thick ones, they're the ones that are the easiest to use. I need to raise it up a little bit, but I do need to still make sure it's fairly flat. So I'm going to raise it up on some more paper cups, I think. No. Yes, I will do the paper cups. If I'm not so panicky about it being completely level, then I would put it on just a couple of spare silicone moulds, because then it is less likely to slide around. But these, because I know they're all absolutely uniform, should be just the job. There we are. Right, I'll carry on mixing this, and then we're going to tip it into each of these into these separate little pots. Mix up the colours that we want, and then let them sit for. So our colours, we're definitely going to need white. Definitely. Always need white. And this is the Supreme White from Just For You Online. It's a really strong pigment paste, so you only need a little bit, probably not even as much as I've put there. And you'll get a good strong white. As you will see, it's going to be completely opaque straight away. And that's what I'm after, completely opaque. And our next one will be cookies and cream, I hope. I've had this for a very long time. It's a big pot, and I hope it hasn't gone off. Just For You Online don't do the colours anymore, so can I direct you to Create and Bloom? Because the colour range from Create and Bloom is absolutely amazing, and it's very similar to work with to this stuff. I really enjoy working with their products. In fact, I've got a whole load more online. I had a mad shopping fit last night. So I'm going to want quite a lot of this colour. And again, I want to make it quite strong, although, again, being a pigment paste, probably won't need too much of the colour in there. Then the other one I wanted to try mixing up, and I've not tried mixing this with resin yet, but people have told me, people have told me you can. I've got bits everywhere now. Oh. Is this colour? This is a terracotta colour. From, again, this one's from Create and Bloom, and it's It's really meant to be for eco-pour. Well, I never. It's meant to be for eco-pour. Look at that. I am surprised. Might need a bit more resin in there. Actually, I think that's a colour I'm going to need a reasonable amount of. So let's put a bit more in. And those are going to be our main colours. What we haven't got so far is a shimmer one. So there we go. I did not expect that to work so well. I really didn't. Because those are water-based. I suppose you can use acrylic paints, can't you? As long as you go sparingly. So I suppose it's the same principle. Yeah, I wanted a shimmer one. So I'm just going to put and I don't want too much shimmer. Shimmer tends to take over a bit. So I'm just going to put a bit in this pot here. I'm going to keep back a little dot of clear in case I need it. This will be our shimmer. We will, of course, end up with metallics. I'm going to go with gold with this. Maybe a bit of silver as well. But maybe a bit of each, yeah? Don't know. Don't know yet. So my shimmer is going to be a lot of powder. And this is that chocolate brown from Boo and Nicole. That's nice, isn't it? I've got some white shimmer as well, so I might end up with some white shimmer. It's a case of just playing with it until you get what you want. Those are going to have to stand for like 40 minutes. What you want is for them to thicken up a bit, and that's why I thought we'd do that while we sorted out the crystals. Now, the big crystals that I'm making, they can wait a while. They can go in later on. What I need initially is just to get the structure of where I want the crystals to go. So what we're going to use for that is some of this quite chunky glass pieces. I think I want it to go in kind of like a line. By the way, folks, I am thinking of stocking things like this in my little online store. These glass crystals and things. I don't know whether that's of interest to you, but if so, will you let me know? So that's going to be our main core, and which is what we're going to build upon as we go along. So I'm going to want to set that in place, but first of all, let's get a little bit of the smaller pieces in, which I have swapped out into little pots. Let's get a little bit of sparkle in there. There. So we're going to build on this anyway, so I'm not too worried about it being too deep at the moment. What we're going to do is we're going to put some UV resin on this. Now, you could just use a bit of your clear that you've got left of the your high viscosity resin, but for now, this is what we're going to do. We're going to use UV, and we're going to drizzle it back and forth. That's just fixing them down. And go around the edge. Kind of make a little bit of a wall. And that will hold them all in. Don't panic, we'll be putting more on later. This is just our base for our Geode bit in the middle. This will be stacked up a lot more than this. Right, got to get some UV light on that, and then we'll leave our resin to sit for 40 minutes, and we'll be back. While we're waiting, actually, it's just occurred to me that I might like a little bit of floating gold, actually. And this is it. It is from Just For You online as well. And I thought what I'd do is make up quite a strong paste of it and kind of paint it around the edges of those crystals. Just when we're at the point of putting the rest of the resin in. So again, this needs to be allowed to thicken. But look how gold that goes. Isn't that spectacular? So yes, again, just going to leave that to sit. So back in 40 minutes. Right, I'm back. It's been 40 minutes. So let's see if this resin is thick enough. First thing I want to do is get a little bit of gold around those edges. And it is getting really quite thick now. Look, that really is thick. So we can dispense with that stick, give it a good clean up. And all this is doing is making sure we're getting the colour right up, kind of in close. And don't forget, all of the crystals I've put on so far are glass. There's no resin crystals. So I can get a heat gun on these, and you'll see why shortly. These floating powders are pretty impressive. And the reason I'm doing this in this way is that I wanted the resin to I want the gold to go where I want the gold to go, if that makes sense. I didn't really want it going everywhere, but I did want it to come up the sides and in amongst these a little bit. Now, the rest of the resin, when I paint it on, when I pour it on, will add into this, of course, and we'll start to spread it and push and pull. But I did want to get some kind of up the side of the crystals just a little bit and control kind of where that happens. Now, don't forget we've got this dam round this as well that I made with the ultraviolet resin. It's only a small dam, but this will work in and over that as well. So yeah, I think you can see on this brush just how thick that resin now is. Now this stuff, like I said, you can sometimes even demold it in 2 hours. So it thickens up quite quickly. You don't want to leave it more than, really, much more than that 40 minutes. Now, a few minutes either way isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, but I would say, yeah, 40 minutes seems about right. But as I said earlier, it does depend very much on the temperature of your room as well. That makes a big difference. Right, next we're going to go around with the white. And again, you can see that's thickened up quite a bit. Oh, hang on. I just realised I've got a funny light on here. There we are. And we're going to squeeze the pot like this. It gives us a bit more control. And we're going to work just slightly outside of that area where the gold is, because of course it's going to flatten itself down and spread, and it'll work its way into that gold and start to blend with it anyway. So start a little bit further out to give it a chance to keep some sort of definition. Right, we're going to save some of this for next time. See, look, it's working its way in already. Now, I think I want next some of the coffee colour. So again, we'll give it a little stir. It's thickened up wonderfully, it has. You see it's starting to work its way in. It is already touching in a few places. So this is my attempt to keep the colours a little bit defined from each other. They will blend a bit, and you kind of want them to, but not too much. You still want to see some sort of colour separation. And now here I'm going to start working this down. I kind of want a bit of a shape to this. Didn't really want a wiggle, but never mind. Now this will run over the edges. And of course, because this is dry, I can actually remove some of that. You could sketch this design out first, of course. I don't think I'd even got in my head what I wanted this to look like, so that probably would have made a lot of sense. Oops. And I'm making a right old mess. Really should have my cloth at the ready and wipe that off the edge of my little cup before I go off on one again. As it is, I'm just going to follow what it's done because it clearly wants to. There we are, although I will get this bit off. Wonder wipes, by the way, are the biz. That's what I use for all of these sort of things and my clean-up afterwards. People often ask how I do a clean-up after. And yeah, it's always Wonder Wipes, and I've got the Wonder Wipes spray as well. Because I know it's not going to adversely affect my moulds. And it's safe on my hands and things too. They're the wipes that tradesmen use. Right, now the white. I'm going to go back in with some more white. Might end up needing a bit more white later. Right, I'm going to mix up a bit more white. I'm definitely going to need a bit more. Now I'm starting to wonder, do I want a bit more of the crystal down here? I think I might do. But this time I'm going to go for slightly smaller crystals for the base. So I've got these, which I don't know, I have no idea when these came from, but they're similar, just very slightly smaller. I'm just thinking this feels like it needs some here, just a small area. And then almost something to balance it off, so maybe a little patch of them over here. Just a few. And again, just some few small ones. So again, just going around with a paintbrush. I've had my UV lamp on that, so it should be well cured up, and I've got plenty of the gold left. So away we go. So do you see how that gold's gone into the resin without taking over? And that's what I was after. Now this floating gold is some weird stuff. Once I get all the colours on, I'll show you what I mean. The gold does float to the surface, but if you apply a bit of heat, it does it a lot quicker. And I think it's because it thins the resin a bit. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. But of course we've waited all this time for this resin to get this thick, so we don't want to thin it too much, do we now? And I'm of course getting mixed in with the white along here because of doing this afterwards, and I'd already put the white on. But this just shows that you can sort of change, adapt as you go. Whoops, I've dislodged one of the bits. You know, you can play with it a bit. You can also play with it too much, trust me. Right, there we go. So now let's start to get our darker colours in. I've got this. This is really dark, isn't it? It's going to be quite a contrast, and it's gone incredibly thick. I think I need to crack on with it now. First of all, let's get a bit more white round here. And round here. Just looks like melted toffee. Now, of course, the slower you go with your colours, so you can see where that white was a bit fresher. The slower you go with your colours, the more they will be fatter lines. It sounds obvious, but yeah, if you're finding your lines are too thick or too thin, just alter your speed. There we go. Right. Running out again. Right, let's go around with the cream. We've still got a metallic-y one too. I think I want the cream in base of this one, in the centre. What I shall be doing is going back in with some white probably at the end, because this brown is very strong. And whilst that's exactly what I wanted, I think it will stand some more white around it as a result. This is probably getting a bit too thick now. I needed to crack on with it and get... So what I should have done really was sketch my plan out first and worked out exactly where I wanted the crystals, so I didn't have to waste time adding more crystals at this stage, because that was silly, wasn't it? So I'm going to go around the edge of all of this with this, because this is the one that's the kind of like pearly brown. And it is going to drip off the edge. What I should have done really is taped off the back. I'm going to have a bit of a clean-up job to do. I'd forgotten I was going to paint it over with latex or masking tape or something before I got messy, but hey, it's a bit late now, isn't it? What I might do is just go around with a cloth. To be fair, I don't think there's that much running off the back. Now I've got some white left, so let's go back in with a bit more white around the edges. And it is going to end up touching this time because there's just not room not to. Looks like chocolate, doesn't it? Sorry for all you chocoholics out there. Right, I'm going to mix up a bit more white. Which by this stage, if it's a bit more fluid, it doesn't matter because the other colours will be quite fixed, I would think, by now. So this isn't quite up to the edge in places, but when I torch over it, you notice I've not been torching as we've gone along. First of all, let's get that gold, because this should make it... Yes, there it goes. This will make it pop. See, the gold's suddenly gone extra gold. It brings the shine up somehow. Now, I'm going to go over the whole thing with this little torch. Now, you wouldn't use this sort of torch in a mould going back and forth like this. And you don't want to do it too much anyway, because you can scorch your resin. If I use one of these torches in a mould, I keep it away from the silicone. I'm going to do a bit of poking now. Yeah, I keep it away from the silicone and just give it a quick ping. I don't tend to go back and forth over it like that because there's a danger of scorching your mould. Now what I'm doing here is just pulling it up to the edges, just that last little touch where it hasn't quite got there, and here where the colours haven't quite joined up. So I've got a couple of little gaps. Now where it's dripped off over the sides, I mean, I've set this up so that it could. I'd just completely forgotten to mask off the back, so I am going to end up with a bit of a messy back to this. Well, I'm hoping not too much because it hasn't really dribbled off in very many places. In fact, I think it's only here. Just so let's just get that off. I will have quite a lot of cleaning up to do in a minute. Don't quite know what I'm going to do with the edges yet. Of course, they're just painted white at the moment. Actually, I don't seem to have had much run off at all, which is interesting. Some interesting lines forming where I went messy with my pot. And I'm just having a look now for any areas where the colours haven't quite met up. Yeah, I think we're okay. I don't think I've got any negative space. Can't see any. Any tips so far really have been about letting the resin thicken. Now it is, of course, it's blending, especially as I went in with a white, which hadn't thickened quite as much. But you can see now, because I am using a bit of heat on it, it's not blowing it around. It's helping those colours to stay separate. Where it's blending, it's nice and subtle, it's lovely. But this is why I didn't use plastic crystals or resin crystals in these bits. We'll be working on those next. So I'll see you later, folks. In the meantime, I'm just going to do a little bit of adjusting. Like here, I can see that doesn't look right at all, does it? So we're just going to do a little bit of this and that. So there will be little bits of adjusting to do. And then we will, we'll be back and have a play and put all those final details in. Okay, this all seems to be cured. I'm not going to risk digging my nails into it, obviously. What we're going to do now is put some final details in. But first of all, let's have a look. The main chunks of glass, they're all stuck down pretty well now. That gold has just drizzled around the edges as I wanted. And the brown and everything, all these have merged rather nicely, I think. So the next thing I want to do is get some more crystals in these bits. I think we'll do that next. So I've got some very small sparkly ones here. I've also got some bits of silver in. It's a bit of a mix I made. What else have we got? We've got, all sorts. So let's get some going. So what I want to do next is put a bit of detail in. Now this is just a white acrylic marker. So we're going to go around kind of carefully and just draw in a little bit of detailing. And we're just going to follow the outline of the shapes. Messed up a little bit there, but I think it'll be okay. I'm going to go around again, just quite close to it. And I'll show you shortly what we're going to do about getting some metallics in there. So what's interesting is this pen is getting lighter as I'm going around, which is actually adding to the effect. Interesting. There we are. Anywhere you go wrong, you can just scratch it away like so. And I think we're going to want a white line down through the brown as well. So you're just trying to follow the natural lines in the resin to a certain extent. There we are. Let's have a little bit round here as well. It's just adding that little bit of detail, isn't it? Now, there is the option to do a flood coat on top of this, which would make it extra shiny, because I have got a little bit of pitting in it here and there, which I don't quite know why that happened, but we could do that. We could add some add a top coat or not, but I honestly don't think I'm going to. I kind of like the fact that it looks like a more natural finish. It's easy to overdo this, and I think there's a danger of me doing that here. I'll put your links for everything in the video description below as usual, by the way. All of the materials I'm using, and pen and everything. Messed up that bit there, so let's take that away. Now this is just an acrylic marker pen, but it will dry really tough. So we should have quite a good strong finish here. I'm going to put the final crystals in last, simply because my resin crystals that I'm making over here, they're looking good, but they are still slightly soft. I don't feel they're really hot underneath, so they've got a little way to go yet, so I need to do all the crystally bits last. But I want to show you the magic trick I wanted to show you first. This is the stuff. This is Pebeo Mixion, I don't know how you pronounce that, relief. And basically it is a fine tip. It's a white paste which then dries clear, which you can then foil onto. So here we go. We're going to be putting some of this in here too, and I'm going to go around the edge of the white, and then all I need to do is wait until it's dried, and then I'll show you how to get the most beautiful fine gold or silver or whatever colour you fancy lines. Okay, so we're just drawing round again. I think I'm going to come across here, across the edge of this one. And like I said, it will dry clear, so don't worry if it looks a bit odd at the moment. It just looks like I've gone a bit too mad with the white lines. Here, maybe I should have put this on first so I could see where I'd been with the white. And definitely think we want a little bit around the inside here as well. This is so easy to draw with, it's unreal. It comes out very smooth. Of course, we can always add a bit more later if I suddenly think, I haven't put a bit where I should have done. Anyway, let's leave it at that. I'm going to let that cure, then it'll just disappear. By which time I'm hoping these crystals will be ready. We'll see. Right, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, we still haven't got our resin crystals cured. They're still cooking. I have some heat in there actually, so I don't think they'll be too much longer. Some of them are firming up, but yeah, they're nowhere near ready to demold, so we're going to leave those a bit longer. But we could get on and do the magic trick with this lot. And that's what that paste came with. So you draw this on, and then you put the foil on afterwards. So let's have a look. I have got, look at all these. There's a lot of foils in these kits. So what you do is you take, this is an alternative to the normal gold leafing, in that it's on a kind of backing, which means it doesn't all float and fly around in the air. So you put that sticky stripe down that I've done, and this is where we'll see if we've got enough. And you put this down, dull side down. If nothing happens, you know you've got the wrong side. And watch these lines appear. Just look at this. I'll lift this up to the camera in case you can't see what's going on in a moment. Actually, let's zoom you in. Which area shall we zoom on to? Let's do this bottom bit here. There we go. Let's get that in on a nice good close-up. So my sticky line went round here and also around the edge. So just lie that down over this. Well, let's do the whole area, look, because there's quite a lot of the sticky there. And you can actually see, can you see where it's sticking? You can see through the foil where you're pressing it down. So I'm just gently rubbing over it with my finger, not even that hard. And that adhesive is just taking it from me. Isn't that amazing? Let me just bring that up and show you. Look at those gold lines. It's absolutely stunning, isn't it? Right, let's carry on. Zoom you back out. We'll have a closer, proper look at this in a minute anyway. But can you see how the adhesive... Well, that's the whole point. You can't see how the adhesive has gone clear. Oops, that's up the wrong way. What did I just say? Yeah. Anyway, you can't see the adhesive anymore. It's just gone clear. It's basically a type of size, I think. You can use nail art foils with this as well, by the way. Now, some news for you all as well. I'm soon, when I say soon, within a couple of months, to be launching a proper course on doing this. I've been doing a lot of research into courses recently. And yeah, I'm still meaning to report back on those as to what I found about online courses. I've invested in a lot, and some of them seriously were very, very good. As many of you will know, my career was as a learning and development specialist. So designing and delivering courses is kind of my thing. So I've been looking into what do you get with an online course that you don't get just from watching the videos, which of course are free and what extra. And I'm coming to the conclusion that I can give a lot more value by packaging as a course. There's an awful lot of total beginners out there with resin. And, you know, so just starting right back at the beginning with what the heck is resin anyway? You know, that sort of thing. And then going through to making things like this. And, you know, some other makes. So kind of going beyond what you do on a short video that you've made for YouTube, really. And packaging it in a proper structured fashion with course notes, workbooks, freebies, all sorts of things. So, as I'm kind of testing the market with this one, I would like to know what you all think. I know many of you are experienced with resin and would just like to, you know, you're getting everything you need to just from a simple video like this. But for anybody who's a bit newer to it, is that something that would interest you? Obviously, it's a very sensible price. So, let me know what you think. To be fair, I'm trying to get it out before Christmas. That would be good. So, at this point, then, we're just having a look to see. Have we got all the bits where the sticky is? And I think we have. Now, look at that. I can't think of a better way of getting incredibly shiny lines that thin. Are there enough is the next question. I feel like I've got a bit of a gap over here. So I'm going to get some more of this on. Of course, I'm going to have to wait for it to dry again, aren't I? But because I stopped this line here, this one, and just left it back to the white, I feel like there's a bit of a gap. So I'm just going to follow that white line around. And also, because this got a bit messy here, I think I might tidy that up with a bit of the gold as well. Yeah, as I said, there is a danger of overdoing it, isn't there? Let's bring that in there. I'm just looking for bits I missed. Right, I'm going to let that cure, and I'll do this same process again, by which time I'm really hoping that will be cured. As you probably saw in this pack, you've got silver and gold, but you can, if you use the ones that you get for your Cricut machine, you can get lots of different colours. I think I've got red and purple and all sorts. But to me, for these, gold seems to be the gold and silver are the obvious colours. Just to show you, this is actually one that that I got with a pack for my Cricut machine. It's basically the same thing. I haven't got a sticky bit now. I can show you one, have I? I know what I've got. I did this one earlier with silver, and that was actual Cricut machine silver. So yes, it works exactly the same. It's the same stuff, I think. That just leaves then me to finish that little bit off. We'll stick our crystals in. We've still got to build up these crystally areas and make them a little bit more impressive. So I'll be back to do that. Probably, I don't know how soft are these still. It's going to be another couple of hours or more. Right, I'm back. These appear to have firmed up really nicely. Isn't that beautiful? You wouldn't believe those were resin, would you? Anyway, yes, we're going to fix some of these in, and we're going to put in some more sparkly, and yeah, just generally finish this off. But I am very pleased with those gold lines. Now, don't forget, if you wanted to do the thicker gold lines that people very often do with a marker pen, with the proper resin edging pens, of course you can do that still. There's nothing to stop you. You stop when you want to stop, basically. I keep finding bits that I think I've missed. Yep, got that bit. But yeah, overall, I'm pleased with it. I'm not going to bother top coating it, even though I've got some slightly odd textured bits here and there, because I think it's nice as it is. Right, let's get these finishing touches on. And again, I'm going to go back to my UV curing glue and one of my little UV torches. This one will do. So, got, yes, little UV torch here. Let's get that ready. And we've just got to decide where to stick these now and which colours to go for. I'm really liking this pale smoky. Oh, we could stick them that way. We could lie them onto the surface even, couldn't we? But I think we want to stick them up and then do maybe like that somehow. That's nice, isn't it? Or like that. I know, I'm just going to get this one stuck on first because I'm going to keep messing otherwise, aren't I? Nice big blob of ultraviolet curing resin, because don't forget we are going to be going back over the top of this with a lot of detail bits. Next. Now this cures as previously, just in a matter of a few seconds. I think it's meant to be a 5-second cure. Yeah, certainly is if you use the torch that comes with it, which is one of the other many things I can't find. So there's that. We have a darker one, actually. Oh, yes, let's put that there. That's nice, isn't it? I like that. I like that a lot. Oops. I'm putting the side that was the top downwards. It looks pretty good anyway because I brought the resin up deep. But I just think that's just that little bit better finish. And of course we've got these clear ones, haven't we? Oh, look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Yes. Say yes, Tracy. Right. And you can see how easily they stick. We're going to want a couple of these in these areas too. Now, you may all have differing opinions as to whether I should be putting these on or not. They're quite big and chunky. I quite like them on here, but I have done ones like that one I showed you earlier that has very few of the big chunkies on it, and that works too. See that sparkly area in the middle? That's also lovely. So whichever your preference is, and also, go with the flow. What do you think your design needs? I think down here, there's not much of the dark colour. So let's just put one of the dark ones in. Now obviously the UV light isn't going to go through these dark coloured crystals quite as well, so you need to make sure you get round and under and, do a bit of this. get all round it. Do we just want a clear one over here? Oh, that's nice. Just at that angle. Oh, yes. Can I get that to go exactly? Yes, that'll do, won't it? That's nice. Under here. So it gives it a bit of like a falling effect. By the way, it probably would be sensible to have my gloves on to do this, because if you get this stuff on your hands and then cure it, gosh, it burns. There we are. So now all we're going to do is fill in some gaps with lots of sparkle. So again, we're going to be using the normal ultraviolet curing resin for this, because I need a bit longer to play with it. And we're going to drizzle over. Of course, we'll have taken some of the shine off the crystals that are already in there, because we've been putting UV glue all over them, haven't we? Let's do this one first. And we are putting in... What have I done with my bigger crystals? A few of these. Because these really sparkle. See the colour flip going on in them. They're like Crystal AB, I think that's the name for them. Yeah, that stands for Aurora Borealis, apparently. But you all knew that already, didn't you? This is the finer one. Let's have a little bit of this as well, and we're going in between these ones I've just stacked in the centre. It's a shame I haven't got any of these finer crystals in the smoky brown, really. I don't know, I'll have to do some research and see what other colours I can get them in. I know you can get like pink and blue and things like that. Definitely. But there we are. So that's all. We've got plenty of those in place now. And this is going to be where's it gone? Oh. There we go. The final touch. This is one of these very fine, glittery, sparkly, sprinkle type situations. And we're just going to dust a little bit of that over. And of course it will stick to that UV resin we've just put in. Hopefully. It's all over the whole thing now. Anyway. Right. And let's go here. I'm going to basically do the same thing all the way around. And then we're going to zap it with the UV light. But as you can see, we've got quite a chunkiness on these now. These are some proper chunky, crystally, geode formation things. I'm sure there's a proper name for that. Well, there is. Geode. Crystal drusies? Is that a crystal drusie, I suppose? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. What are these called now, these bits? Chunky sparkle bits. Should we just call them chunky sparkle bits? It's good enough for me anyway. Right. But yeah, as you can see, we've built those really up quite high now. Now, optional for you, you could add some actual crystals. You know, natural crystals, or something like Swarovski crystals. You could do that too. There's lots of options really, isn't there? You can play with these to your heart's content. So there we go, everyone. I hope you like it. If you've enjoyed this video or learned something from it, please do subscribe. And if you'd hit that like button as well, that would be absolutely awesome. Thank you. So I look forward to seeing you for the next video. There will be some close-ups of this at the end as well for you. So stay tuned and I'll see you soon.